Now is the time.
Forever? Tangent. Old.
Halt.
Hashtag always MGM.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Calm down. AK haters.
But what if it could? Behold, the majesty of the Sistine Ceiling.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
Ha! What a cute ending.
Aloha and
Don't Dillo it.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are here at DillosDizResort.com. That's our Patreon with memberships beginning as low as $1 per month. DillosDizResort.com. Of course, you can still join for free by clicking the Join for Free tab when you go to DillosDizResort.com. Hashtag Dillos Madness now in its 4th consecutive month of true, pure madness.
It never ends. It never does. I owe the resort guests, those that are free at the resort and paying members, the extended story of the Thinkamajig sign. And I keep reminding, I was like, oh, Mr. Snidillo, we have to record that so that everyone knows the true story behind how that sign landed in our home, because it wasn't me that carried it out of the park. That's all I'm saying.
We owe a lot of stories, I think. I think we're supposed to redo all the stories in the second round.
I know. And well, I mean, we did get the bonus content of clarification from Mama and Papa Dillo.
That's fair.
That helps. As a side note to the Mama and Papa Dillo, you know, the malaprops didn't go very far, mostly because we couldn't remember the list of everything Mama and Papa, I mean, specifically Papa Dillo, calls things by the wrong name. We know there's plenty. We just couldn't remember them all. However, we were noticing, I think we talked about this, but the 9-year-old who, as of this recording, will now be known as the 10-year-old. It's fine. I'm fine. You know,
change the program, everyone.
He every day plays guess the lineup for the Mets, and so we have to go through who is in the lineup every day. But now he does it like Papa Dillo. So he refers to Alonzo as Alfonso, and he refers to Nemo as Nemo. And I was like, these are Papa Dillo baseball malaprops, I think is what's happening. So there's that shift happening. We'll have to see what other information I can gather this summer.
Yes, but there is a change in the program with the 10-year-old, as referenced on Theme Park Thursday Live. Last week, we talked about comparing how when I turned 10 compared to the 10-year-old turning 10, and then it was brought up in a larger setting and discussed openly, which I was fine with. It's fine with that. I'm fine about it. And then I'm going to address it right here for the first time. Jen completely throws me under the bus with Mrs. Dillo by telling her that I have a crush on Dua Lipa. That's not true.
It's 1,000% true. Listen, and first of all, Mrs. Dillo couldn't care less by this. She doesn't care if you have a crush on Dua Lipa, which it's not like this is a big scandal that I just unearthed. But I was like, oh, hey, did you hear? But obviously she didn't, because Frank doesn't talk about the podcast in his home. So I'm like, hey, did you hear? Dua Lipa, he's got a big crush on Dua Lipa. And she's like, what? You do? And he's like, I don't have a crush. Well, it's not a crush.
There's no crush.
Like, I don't know what you call that.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's discuss this for real. Because first of all, ever since I have discussed this on Theme Park Thursday, since that time, just today, Barstool tweeted, every Monday is now Dua Lipa Appreciation Post Day. You're welcome. Like, I have put something out in the universe.
Right.
The people of the world are catching on now.
Right.
I only referenced Houdini in that song last week, which is called Dance the Night. I couldn't remember the name of the song, but she says Houdini in the middle of it. That's how I remember it.
Oh, that makes sense, because going back to Jeffers' earlier question, when do Frank and Jen do their Houdini react video? And I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't remember. Jeffers bringing up a good point. What if she has a crush on you because she's probably a listener? What if that's happening?
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. More likely to have a crush on Lenny Burrows than on me.
It's the lederhosen.
Don't forget Lenny Burrows, Sterling Renaissance Festival, August 10th and 11th. Is that correct?
Set up your meet and greet with Jeffers. He'll be there.
Meet and greet with Jeffers. The 8-year-old and I have been working on material all weekend.
Will the 8-year-old be in attendance?
She believes she is, but I don't believe. When it was first discussed, the intention was the 8-year-old would be playing a sidekick character.
Oh, okay.
Since that time, the camp situation changed and the summer planning situation changed. So logistically, no.
Yeah. Right. All right. Fair enough.
But Dua Lipa more likely to have a crush on Lenny Burrows. But I want to discuss this crush thing for a second because
sure.
Jen, over the years, can you name
Yeah.
a couple of?
Yeah.
I know you can name one for sure. Maybe. Because I was like, okay, who would Jen know that I had crushes on? And I want to just compare to what we are discussing about Dua Lipa.
So you want me to rattle off some names?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I instantly was like, yep, here's the list, and now they're running out.
Yeah.
Who and I'm Stacy Keebler.
Stacy Keebler. That's a good one. That's one I did not think of. Yeah.
Let me think, because but she wasn't the first one. She was the second one that popped in my head. Who was the first person that just popped in my head? And now
Stacy Keebler's in the mid-2000s. That's why we
and somehow that is what stuck in my brain from the mid-2000s. Tiffany from The Party.
Yes.
You have addressed that before.
I've addressed that. Probably first crush. I mean, I wouldn't say as a little kid I had a crush on Princess Leia or anything. So, but I would say Tiffany was probably the first. There we go. Jeffers with the answer I've been waiting, Jen, to get.
Claire Filani.
Filani.
Who is the wrestler with the reddish hair?
Lita. So, which is what I was going to get into, right? Is that, but then you said Stacy Keebler. I was like, oh, there's two. Because obviously I'm a big fan of the professional wrestling. And in particular, over the last couple of years, women's wrestling has really taken off. But I do not find, where my crush was like Lita 20 years ago. I was like, oh, my God, Lita. And, comparatively, I look at all those women and they are like really, really talented entertainers.
Right.
There's that New York accent coming out a little bit. And but not compared to Leah, but not compared to Stacy Keebler either. But Claire Filani, 100%, Tiffany, 100%. But I'm not watching Dua Lipa videos over and over again to be like, Claire Filani. I watched that Boys and Girls Ridiculous Freddie Prinze movie that you loved 7,000 times.
Here we go with that you loved, as if you didn't
love
it.
You loved Freddie Prinze, and you watched that movie all the time.
And you loved it.
May or may not have been on a illegal cable box pay-per-view. I don't know, but it was on all the time.
Listen, you love that scene. I don't know why you're acting like you don't love it.
I love that scene.
Here, Freddie Prinze movie you despise.
I'm Down to You is the one I despise.
Freddie Prinze movie you love, Boys and Girls. That's it.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense in the Freddie Prinze movie by IMDb.
Break into 90s Con, people. God, that's all
I want. I mean 90s Con talking about shaking it up for next year, being the last week of March. What does that mean? What does it mean?
Stop the rock. Can't stop. Can we recreate that dance at Fine Frank for 50?
Oh, you know what? We'll put that on the list.
Because Frank can definitely choreograph it for us. We don't need Lexi. We can do it right. Yeah, Frank can do it right now. I will say though, where it would be good to recreate is in Dollywood, because I feel like during the summer, Lewis, if you're still here, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there an area for the kids with like bubbles and suds and things like that? Would be a good place to recreate it. We're not doing that for Fine Frank for 50, but still.
Do we need to do that now, like a splash pad?
Oh, maybe.
It's interesting. But clarify, I didn't, and I didn't even really. I probably only saw Meet Joe Black once, so it wasn't even a Meet Joe Black thing. It
Yeah.
was that Freddie Prinze movie. What doesn't make sense?
Oh, did you? Where was Kate Winslet?
Sure,
Minor crush.
minor crush.
Oh, I
She
just.
was on a run. Kate Winslet is one of the few people who I have run into in my place of work, where I have
Yeah.
walking by. Oh, it's Kate Winslet.
Yeah. I'm now. I almost started getting into your history a little bit, and I won't. But certain names are
What?
popping in my head. So.
What you name people like real people or
Yeah, real people.
Oh, you
Well,
can't do real people.
when I said Kate Winslet, it made a name pop in my head that I went, "Huh, there's a connection there." I think. I don't know that the timing wasn't the same, but
Can you type it in the chat? No, I mean, can you text me the name, please? No, but you go back to Tiffany for a second.
Yeah.
Then there was a string of if you could sing.
Mhm.
Not an in for that was a through
Yeah,
line
yeah.
through the years.
Yeah.
Fingers.
Stacy Keebler, though, I would argue, I mean, she was one of the bigger crushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Not a healthy crush. No. But go and watch season 2, Dancing with the Stars, when she dances the samba.
Dancing the samba.
To the Beyonce song.
What is this podcast today? Oh, yeah, you're gonna
Hello.
go watch Boys and Girls now, Jeffers? Enjoy.
It's only 14 minutes and it feels like it's been longer, everyone. Let's recap all the dates that are coming up, right? So I'm going to Universal Studios imminently. It is imminent, everyone. It's getting
so
real.
close you could feel it.
It's so close. The temperatures are burning my retinas right now. That is if I can see what the temperatures might be.
It's gonna be rough. You have some. What do you have to prepare? Will you be getting? Oh, you know what? You could do a Amazon delivery, or like for the bottles of water, just get a case of water, right?
Mhm.
Delivered to your room, so you just have so you're all hydrated the whole time.
Yeah.
You need some cooling towels.
Yeah.
Maybe a little spray fan.
Well, the spray fan she has, I mentioned that
Okay.
today to the 8-year-old. I was
Yeah.
like, do not let me forget your spray fan. We're not going to think about it. You need to remember it.
Yeah. Papa Dillo was sporting the little fan thing 2 years ago. All the kids loved that. They were trying it on and stealing it from him.
Hey, that thing drove me crazy. You kids, we walked around here every August. We were fine.
And by we walked around here, we were like, I don't want to walk around the countries. It's too hot.
Yeah. I mean, Jen is planning a string of conversations with Mama Dillo live from the home.
We were discussing this weekend with Mama Dillo how many times are you going to go live with us? While I'm, for those who don't know, I'll be staying at Mama and Papa Dillo's for some time over the summer while some things are getting done to my house. And there will be bonus content in the resort. Don't you worry. But I was like, she's like, I don't know. But then I started saying how, but at some point, you take that, you go over the line a little bit. She's like, so don't ask me. And then Papadillo's over here telling the story to a cousin and, just starting to Papadillo it. So it's a little bit bigger. The story's a little bit bigger than
It's a little inflated.
well, I say stuff and then I go, oh, we got to edit that. Oh, we got to edit that. All right, then what am I doing? That's not what happens. That's not how it goes. Talking about?
No, at some point we experience a shutdown and that's it. We know it's over.
I need to have the mute button available, but typically Papadillo needs to be coerced to say things where Mamadillo will just keep saying things going, oh, okay, we're done with that conversation now. We're not going to say that.
So there we go. The Universal Studios dates are imminent.
Yes.
And then in August, we have our combined couple of days in Walt Disney World with the full family, full Dillos experience on the Fantasy Round 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then in September, which has been the talk of the Discord, our one channel, $1 Discord this week, which is the meetup in September, the centerpiece of which is the second annual Not So Scary Halloween party on Friday, the 13th of September. Get your tickets now and pick up a Ted Lasso jersey while you're at it. And that is what is in place right now. Jen doesn't even know this information. I was trying to work on something for July for myself, but I don't. The prices are not on my side right now.
Yeah.
So that is currently the state of events. The meetup in September. Everyone wants the details. The details, as Jeffers mentioned in the one channel Discord, did not come until a few days before.
That's true.
I know our friend PixieDustPhD mentioned Saturday in Epcot. I think that is the closest thing that we have said.
Yeah.
In passing.
Probably.
There's one outlying factor that has to determine our Saturday. So to be determined.
Yeah, TBD. I too was looking into July before we decided on this, and now I have high hopes for the fall. So silly. We'll see. Also, since this is Theme Park Thursday, I'm gonna be in a theme park once again on this Theme Park Thursday. Nope, I'm not. I was already in a theme park.
No, that's right. It's over.
It's over. Theme park's over. I will be returning to Legoland this week, but I'm already back if you're listening to this. It was great. Okay.
I asked the 8-year-old, I was like, where are you with Legoland? What would you rather do? Would you want to do a trip to Lego, like a day at Legoland?
Yeah.
Or would you go back to Ride Playland, which we visited last summer because it was affordable and it was a quick trip and we had fun.
Yeah.
And, again, Dillo DNA, you want to repeat.
Right.
And she's like, why are you asking me that? I said, I'm not saying we're going anywhere. We're going to enough places that I want to mention that that maybe if you wanted to go, would you go? Like, are you interested in going? And she's like, oh no, it seems cool, but she's like, I know where we're going, like already. So she's like, she understands. She understands the concept of like, I know it's a Magic Kingdom thing, but I know I'm only getting on 3 rides today. Like she's already in that mindset. She's like just happy to be there. So Universal, Legoland this month, July. I'm going someplace, but with the fam. But I was actually thinking another quick Central Florida trip.
Yeah.
As well. I don't know if that will happen.
Yeah.
And then August, September, maybe Jen in the fall. We're going to keep it going. Every other month, one of us visits.
Man, there was a trip that popped up on my phone. Well, one day I had been looking for a photo from like the 2021 or 2022 trip, and I was like, oh man, these photos, this is hurting looking at these pictures. And then like the next day it popped up like, on this day in 2018 you were in Disney with your children, isn't this magical? And I'm like, oh man, 2018, that was a good year because January we were all there. This crew was there in June or the end of May, June, beginning of June. Then I was there with this crew again in September, and then we were there in November. I was like, what an amazing year 2018 was.
That's why we started a podcast, by God. That's why we're all here, because of how many trips we took in 2018. It
was good times.
So here we are with our usual 20 to 25 minutes of nonsense and shenanigans. What are we talking about today?
Who knows?
Obviously, the talk of the past week plus. We started mentioning it on Theme Park Thursday live on our YouTube channel last week. It took a quick turn into the weekend when Disney dropped their own POV of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, trying to stop everyone in their tracks. Like I said last week, they hear the footsteps. You hear the footsteps and you drop the path. And we talked about the potential of all that happening. They were trying to get ahead of it, showing things, teasing people. All right, let's put as much as we can out there for people to get negative about, and then we'll be fine by the time it opens. Well, then you drop the POV, and slow news cycle on the weekend. nothing big prior happened to the weekend. So we are then left to talk about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You didn't watch the POV, did you?
I did not.
I did not either. If I see a video, like a 20-second thing here and there, I might do one of these. But no, I have not watched it either. I'm tempted to watch, just because I feel like it'll be different when I ride it anyway. But let's see if I hold out, because of the things that have opened over the years since we've started this podcast. Did you cheat at all on it? Did you watch Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway before it opened?
Why is it so hard for us to say? Is it the accent that gets us? Because
Railway.
right, it's so hard. Anyway,
Railway.
um,
It's going
I'm
to turn into
trying.
a Papadillism pretty soon.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I did. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I did. I do think I watched or saw most of Guardians, and I expected that ride to be completely different. So obviously, whatever I watched didn't actually stick because that was completely different. I
think
didn't
we
do a
managed
Tron
to
POV.
avoid Rise of the Resistance in the month and a half or so
Yeah.
before we wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think like what was available of Toy Story Land. I'm thinking of Slinky Dog, but and whether I did that. Tron, I mean, I felt like seeing the outside of it was enough to get an idea. Obviously, a different experience still for Jen in the moment. And so I don't know. I'm torn about it because I want to know, but I feel like I can wait potentially 2 months to actually go on it.
Yeah, the thing that made me think about watching was, if I show this to the 7-year-old, would she be intrigued enough to want to try it? She really doesn't want to do the drop though, so I don't know that it would sell it. And then I'm like,
Right.
But
Or can it maybe lessen it by going, see, it's not that bad.
right, which I have done with other rides, which has worked for some and then totally taken a left turn for others and go, nope, I know what that's like. I'm like, I thought this was going to help you,
Lewis is here at the resort saying, how can we go to Orlando soon and not go check this out after we badgered him to walk over to see the Hatbox Ghost on a... Did I know your hip was broken at the time? I don't think so. But
did you know, Lewis?
1. 2 is you were in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Instead of going to see the Hatbox Ghost. It is us. Of course, we're going to tell you that the Hatbox Ghost is the greater option to the animal kingdom. 2. 3. You're both you and Val are huge Haunted Mansion. You have inspired us to love the Haunted Mansion more than we did prior to the start of this podcast. Of course, we were going to tell you have to go to see the Hatbox Ghost.
Yeah.
All right, Lewis confirming that it wasn't us that broke. I mean, maybe he's kind of implying that we broke his hip because we sent him over to Haunted Mansion. It wasn't broken yet, but did break later that day. Sorry, Lewis.
Here's the thing though, about in fairness, since Frank's trip is so close he could see the temperatures, I will say that I saw a video, it was probably a TikTok, who are we kidding, of like POV, you're waiting for the newest opening of the attraction or whatever, and it's the line for Tiana, and I'm like, no, I'm not standing in that crowd. I have no interest to stand in that crowd. I do not want to do that. Absolutely not. So also, let's call it the next 2 weeks, I don't know that one would be really wanting to stand in that crowd. However, I know plenty of people will argue us on that, and that's okay. Feel free to add us. That's all right.
I will say, when we did visit in the summer, and I think more often than not, Mom and Papa Dillo did come with us to Magic Kingdom at night.
Yeah, of course.
And we standing in line of Splash Mountain is about as hot as I remember things.
Oh God, yeah.
And like that is where I feel like we talk about our pockets that we love. We love these little pockets in all the parks. There is a pocket of humidity in the Splash Mountain / Tiana's
Yeah.
Bayou Adventure line. I can't explain it. I don't know how it's all captured right there in the queue before you go into the barn or whatever it is now. I don't know. But it was always that little part. I was like, this is so gross right here, right now.
Yeah, and I also think it was, that would happen at the end of the day, as you're saying, which would often coincide with us returning to the parks after our nice midday break of napping and air conditioning and some pool time. So we were nice and like refreshed and cooled off, and then to like stand in that line again was like, we came back too early. It's still too hot. It's too much. But then we would get splashed, and I feel like back in the day, it didn't smell as bad as it
Right. Oh yeah.
has in
Right.
recent years. I don't know what that's about. Why did that change? Why did it get just so gross smelling? I don't know.
Yeah, I think 30 years of mold would build up.
No. What?
That's probably what it is. I mean, I am curious to that if it smells better. I am. Those are the things I'm not seeing on the X Twitter right
Right.
now.
Why isn't anyone talking about
Yeah.
this?
Why are we talking about whether or not the smell has improved? No, we're focused on the storytelling.
Yeah. Who cares about the storytelling? I got to a point where I couldn't even put my hands on the handles because I was like, oh, my hands smell. I can't. Like, why is no one addressing this? I might have to post it to Twitter and see if I get any responses.
That's right. You should post it to Twitter. I appreciate all the comments, both positive and negative, about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The real question is, does it smell better than it did when the last few years of Splash Mountain?
Do you feel like you can't touch anything because your hands smell so bad until you wash them, or have they improved that?
You can just feel like whatever that layer was. It's Jen dry heaves. The one thing I actually wanted to focus on, which is leading us to the podcast here today, all of half an hour in, is one of the things that has been talked about, and I think it's a great conversation in general, is that Tiana's Bayou Adventure, surprise, follows the same path of Splash Mountain. And so people, have the Splash Mountain nostalgia because the path and the track, surprise,
Mm-hmm.
are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So things like all the signs. People are like, oh, all the signs for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And then everyone's like, here's all the signs for Splash Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Road signs, street signs,
Mm-hmm.
home signs, celebration signs, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great conversation because over the years, when an attraction is removed and replaced with a new attraction, it can lead to things depending on how you feel about the attraction. So unlike the last 2 weeks so far that I have asked Jen to rank and put things in order, buildings that had one attraction and then were replaced by another, I will we'll go through a couple here.
Yeah.
And maybe the chat will jump ahead and want to know our opinions on other ones first that they can think of. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
We'll go through some of these attractions that have been, was one thing and then became another. The first one is different for both of us, which I love, because I was a big If You Had Wings. That was my attraction the first time. And then into If You Could Fly. Jen was very big on Delta's Dream Flight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then eventually it became Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. So again, I can't think of the answer right now. Jen, do you remember If You Could Fly into Dream Flight, or is If You Could Fly, we have like a little fuzzy video of it, and that's maybe what you remember more?
No, I mean, I remember, it's hard because I probably have memories of both that have morphed into one, but it's really funny because we had texted about this earlier and you pretty much just mentioned one of the attractions. So I just wrote down this one going, oh, I wonder if this is on his list. If not, we have to talk about it. And that was the first one you mentioned. So like, I remember, the Paris scene. Which one was that?
That was in Dream Flight, I think.
Yeah. But for me, the crossover and the change from one to the other, and even a little bit into Buzz, is that one the one area with the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because the tunnel on If You Had Wings and Dream Flight was the same exact thing, and
Yeah.
it was as if you were taking off, I guess, where it was just strobe lights coming at you,
Right.
and this certain smell that I can smell right now in my nose,
Yeah.
and the smoke and stuff, and that was like, oh, good. Well, at least they kept this part. Like this makes me feel grounded to this ride, and it's not too much change. And I do feel like even if when you're going through that tunnel in Buzz, I'm like. You gotta add a little bit of you gotta add a little bit of smoke. Just I know
Right.
we're here, but it's feeling too different. So I do that's big.
Yeah, with if you had wings, sponsored by Eastern Airlines, it was a little more like, in some ways, very similar to El Rio de Tempo
Mhm.
or the Three Caballeros ride as we currently know it. But with more of the Caribbean Mexican flavor. I mean, those
Mhm.
were the big destinations for Eastern Airlines, and then into If You Could Fly. And then Delta's Dream Flight kind of broadened that idea a little bit, and then which I looked up prior to the podcast. It was called Take Flight from
Mhm.
1996 to 1998, and I was like, well, those are like the 2 main years I was a cast member. No, I think I remember it was called that. I didn't know it was 2 years
Mhm.
before becoming Buzz. And 100%, and this is something that will come up in other attractions we mention here today. I continue to go on Buzz Lightyear primarily, number one, because of the track of the ride, and
Mhm.
because the building and boarding the car and those first couple of moments still remind me of If You Had Wings, not because I want to shoot a laser for 3.5 minutes.
But if I'm doing it, I'm gonna win. Right. This also makes me think of a conversation we had last week when we were discussing the hotels as to, for us growing up, the Polynesian, the Beach Club, all the hotels were their own theme. French Quarters its own theme, and Beach Club its
Mhm.
own theme, everything like that. So it's hard for us to see um, it being a little bit Disneyfied or some of the IPs going in, although subtle, just because we're so used to the hotels having their own themes, and that's like, to us, I think that's a lot of the nostalgia. And same with the rides. Sometimes when they talk about more IP in the park and all of that, there is a part of me that's like, yes, I love all of that, but also I don't sometimes want that. And if you think about this building and this ride in particular, how it was sponsored by different airlines and they were
Mhm.
kind of focused on different, that has nothing to do with Disney. But it
Mhm.
was just a right. But like there were a couple of those things throughout the parks that had nothing to do with Disney. It was kind of its own thing. And of course you could argue like, well, then should it even be there? But like whatever, it was cool. It's just interesting how as time goes on, there's just less and less of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like and to think about it in terms of, well, in the 1970s, flying in an airplane was still a novel concept for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And where so many people were driving to Disney World. I
Right.
mean, so many people still drive to Disney World, but also
Sure.
that many more people are flying in airplanes.
Yeah.
So that's what's funny to think about too. It's like you watch any show like set in the 60s and you go, and you see like, the Pan Am flight or anything like that. And you're like, oh man, the 60s, like nobody was really doing this regularly, by the way. This
Mm-hmm.
was like a novel thing that was
Yes.
available to
Yeah.
fly from New York to California on Mad Men or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is amusing. Yeah, but like, and this will come up, like I said, is that the getting on Buzz is my favorite thing because it is a sense memory exercise
Mhm,
of getting
mhm.
on If You Had Wings. It's the main reason I do that attraction.
Yeah, and isn't that weird, like, and maybe that speaks to a lot of the things I love in Magic Kingdom are everything sensory experience, because to me, my memories of that is the tunnel and the smell and the lights and the thing,
Yeah.
and then I go over to the Tomorrowland Speedway, and I'm like, "Don't get rid of this, I have to smell the fumes, I have to hear the sounds, it has to go really slow even though it should go faster," and all of those things.
Yeah. The next one I want to talk about, which was a very big deal. We've talked about it many times on the podcast before, but especially when I was living in Florida and talking about people adamantly protesting against the change that was taking place. It was replacing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride with The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Mhm.
We both loved Mr. Toad's.
Yeah.
love that you go to hell at the end. Hilarious.
Who doesn't love that while you're on vacation, huh?
But I remember a time briefly just after Splash Mountain opened that I thought that Winnie the Pooh was going to replace the Song of the South as the IP in Splash Mountain, because you started, well, one, the popularity of Winnie the Pooh was increasing tenfold in the early 90s. The Saturday morning cartoon was huge. Gotta get up, gotta get going. I'm gonna see a friend of mine. If you love the Disney Channel series with the costume characters, and welcome to you, and how do you do? Everybody's
waiting for at Pooh Corner, waiting for you.
100%.
Hey, Winnie the Pooh.
So it was building, and I remember one summer I had to be like 93 or like that's a year after Splash Mountain opened, where Winnie the Pooh merch was starting to infiltrate the shop.
Yeah.
Outside and connected to Splash Mountain. I was like, oh, this is weird. And again, to state for the record, never seen Son of the South, but as someone who loved to draw as a child, and happy I didn't hit my New York accent for saying the word draw,
Right.
that Brer Bear and Brer Fox, I just loved how they looked. I loved the colors of those characters. I loved the shape. I had both their plushes in the early 90s. But so then Winnie the Pooh merch, I'm like, what's going on here with this Winnie the Pooh merchandise? Little did I know that just like the rest of the world, it was really secretly going to replace Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Right.
In hindsight, the correct choice.
Right.
We still have Mr. Toad's in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Have we been to Disneyland to go on Mr. Toad's in the 27 years it's been closed? No, we don't miss it too much. But there is something to be said of, again, there is a little bit of the track moment there, and just getting on the loading area of, on the outside of the attraction is fun. But to me, before I pass it on to you, Jen, to talk about Mr. Toad, the Fairy Tale Princess Hall, which used to have Snow White's Scary Adventures. I don't know if have you been in there to see like Rapunzel or whoever?
Yes, I think I have.
You kind of walk through like
Yeah,
what the attraction path was,
right.
and that is way like, what am I doing right now to
Yeah.
me than going on Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it's all that area is weird, and again, I think especially for the Princess Hall now, I have a princess loving 7-year-old who has loved them since she was a baby. I mean, so we have been in there, and I'm not anti it being there, but to me, this is one of those decisions that Disney makes that I go, huh, yeah, this is what you're doing with this space in particular, just because it seems like maybe there could be a different use of this space. Yeah, we did love Mr. Toad's a lot, and I do think I think in some of the footage I had put up about with 20,000 Leagues, you can kind of see Mr. Toad's in the background in that footage. But Winnie the Pooh, I don't know. I mean, all of those rides are interesting to me. Like they serve their purpose. I do think it's kind of weird to like get rid of Snow White. I don't know. It was always a weird choice to me, but it is what I don't know. I'm very like, I think it's weird, but also indifferent. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I know as a teenager, but I still recognize, like, I still, and we were talking about the 8-year-old has a Winnie the Pooh theme in her room that gets debated a lot in school that we don't have to talk about right here. But, but she recognizes like the characters are cool and the theming is cool. I mean, I don't know where she gets it from, but there is, there's something about those characters that are timeless. And to me, and I know it wasn't made for me as a 20-something-year-old adult when it opened, I wanted it to be better because I was still loving the characters up to that point. So I wanted an attraction that suited how I felt about those characters as an adult.
Yeah.
They to have that kind of more cross appeal between adults and kids, I guess.
Yeah. 7-year-old loves that ride. Loves that Winnie the Pooh ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And again, you see in the characters, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted more. I was
Right.
looking for more.
Yeah.
I think it suits it fills its purpose.
Mhm.
But, quickly, because this is, it's not necessarily, it is an attraction, but Captain EO into Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was a change, but one that was fine for both the 80s and the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Then Captain EO came back.
Mm-hmm.
Nostalgia, well, cool.
Right.
They didn't bring back those awesome light blue T-shirts with the Captain EO symbol on them.
Right.
I don't know what is happening in that theater now, and why is it happening that way? Like, why do we have this Pixar festival short, whatever it is that's going on? I'm not going in there because it is a less than. It is not. You're not playing to the top of your possibilities here.
You saying that made me go, wait, what? What's in there? Like, I've been paying attention to what's in there in a long time. Yeah, I mean, Captain EO, getting rid of that was a big one for us. I feel like that was one of those Dillo changes. But I would also argue those pre-shows were some of the best pre-shows I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Give a little true colors. Or, come on. I mean, I don't want to, we might get, sued on YouTube or something if I sing too much of it. But I just, yeah, the theater could be more and deserves more. And there needs to be, I'm saying all this, realizing I haven't been in that theater in forever, so I don't actually know what's in there. But, the pre-show needs to be even more magical than the show or something. I don't know. It's kind of like these tangents today. It's kind of like when they were testing, when Wishes was happening, and they were starting to test the projections, and there was the magic, the memories, and you, and I loved it. And it was like a pre-show, and it was like the precursor and all of that. And it didn't last long. And it was only this little thing that just like lives in the history. And I'm sad that it's gone. Those pre-shows in that theater are kind of like that to me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. I forgot about the magic and memories of you until today.
Love it.
Lewis is here heralding the Pixar shorts, and I don't doubt it's Pixar shorts. How can you how can they go wrong? But what was there to or just, I mean, and I know people love that Mickey Mouse short that's over in the theater in the studios right now. People love that. I just do we need this in the theme park? I don't think so. And again, you know me, imagination is the Da Vinci-like key that unlocks the magic of Epcot. We're all waiting.
Yeah.
The pieces are almost all in place. And then they all will turn to look at the pyramid and say, it is time. And they'll say, we have to see the box office for Inside Out 2 first. And then we can tell you what's going to be.
Well, and that's funny how you went there, because to me, I'm like, oh yeah, there's Pixar shorts, and Joy was always out there walking around, and I'm like, why not put an Inside Out movie in that theater? Because it's been talked about so much for taking over imagination, and Joy's over there, and you got Pixar over here. Just make it a thing. I would love that personally.
I'm going to tangent. Oh, a tangent. It's not that much of a tangent because I am going to go into Epcot attractions in a second. But on Saturday, I think this is the only one you watched of Behind the Attractions season 2. We watched the Epcot episode. Did you watch the Epcot episode? It was like an hour long. Yeah.
Wasn't it like Epcot? That's not a behind the attraction. That's not an attraction. It's a park.
Right. I mean, the last 20 minutes is about Ratatouille and Cosmic Rewind and Frozen. Yeah, I know you're angry about it, but I'm glad I waited a
behind the attraction. Snacks. That's not an attraction. Anyway.
So on Saturday morning, for I like to get out of the Bluey marathon. I was like, I'm just going to put something on because French toast is going to be made or something. And then I sucked the two of them, both Mrs. Dillo and the 8-year-old, into this behind the attraction of Epcot. The 8-year-old, all in. She loves documentaries.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know where she's getting this from, but sorry. But Mrs. Dillo, in particular, first she's like, Epcot stood for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. I'm like, how? And we have been together for 14 years.
You are not doing your job. That's all that says to me. That is not her fault. That is your fault.
I have said it. She didn't know I was talking about Epcot when I called it that. She's like, I never, she's like, my mind. Because the 8-year-old's like, oh, I never knew that's what it stood for. And Mrs. Dillo, I was like, what is happening? Get out. Cary Grant.
You get out. You get out. You need to be doing a better job there.
Anyway, but both were enthralled for the hour, and I think again, I always appreciate what sucks Mrs. Dillo in, just like when we watch wrestling. Oh, what's gonna get her? What's gonna hook her? And she was just really enthralled with the level of thought Imagineers put into, what goes into determining how the attractions change. Yeah, I think she's going to be amped to go on Ratatouille now that she knows that it shrinks down to the side. She's like, oh, I didn't know it does that. Now I want to go. I'm like, oh, look at you wanting to go through a queue. What? So I laugh because, it's sometimes it's a battle, but but those things grab her. But I don't want to get too much into Horizons and Mission Space, because that was kind of like a demo job. Test Track is probably the one we can talk about, because at least it's the building shell of World of Motion, and is most likely about to turn back into half World of Motion, half Test Track, and Imagination. I don't even know what we can do, but of the four in terms of the building, is Imagination still kind of like, well, at least you're staying on point, or is it Test Track that was like, you're still in the motion area? I get you. Of all the changes or even with the Nemo IP going into the Living Seas, I'll just leave all of that there for you to discuss, since Epcot is your park.
And I'm just discussing them, or do you have one specific question about all four?
There's no question in there. It's just a meandering, aimless train of thought.
All right. Imagination. I mean, the fact that you still have Figment, like, I'm not happy that there was a change, but there's still Figment, so I'm okay. Like, overall, I'm okay there. Nemo in the Seas, I'm also okay. I like Nemo. I think it fits there. It makes sense. It's cute. It's a nice. It's fine. Especially that then you have like Turtle Talk in the building too. Like, you expand it out a little. I like that. Mission Space. I am what I am with that ride. I miss Horizons. I miss it terribly. Once again, the senses. I miss the smells. I miss the choices I could make. I miss all of it. So I'm not happy with that change still to this day. World of Motion / Test Track. I like that they kept the exit the same with the cars of the future, quote unquote, even though they're the cars of today. They're just the cars of today. There's no future cars last time I was in there was no future cars. And they kind of kept the overall shape of the I was upset though that they got rid of World of Motion, because we were big Spaceship Earth fans and we would always go on that. World of Motion was a similar feel to that, probably too similar, which is why they wanted to change it. But for us, we love things that are the same and feel familiar. Yeah. So that was a hard change as well. Those are my thoughts on those four.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm intrigued by the Test Track update, because my brain immediately goes to, could they long term reintroduce elements of Horizons into Mission Space? I don't think they're gonna like change what's going on in there in terms of the ride. Obviously, it's a very expensive attraction, but can they bring back some of the feels? I'm not saying to it like for us old people, like, oh, well, we're going to appeal. Now, I don't. Can you reintroduce the transcendent themes of Horizons and put them into Mission Space? And could Test Track be the test pilot of that, so to speak?
I like this idea. And I mean, take the G forces away. I think just how things are now, you can kind of have your own, pick your own adventure, which is what Horizons was at the end, right? You could pick where you sea or you air,
Mhm.
you can kind of have that same experience. You can make it futuristic at this point. You
Mhm.
can make it talking about if you're in the sea, you could talk about like saving the oceans, and if you're in space, and you can do all the things, and you can still have people pick their own adventure and still kind of stay in that vertical way and they're going through the motions of it, similar to like a virtual reality experience maybe,
Right.
so which is just a step up of what Horizons was, I guess.
Yeah.
I like it. I like this. Mhm.
Have you been on the reduced version
No,
of Mission Space? No, you haven't even done
maybe
the
I
live.
have. I don't know, because that's been around for a long time. I don't feel like I have, because I feel like the last time I went on, I was like, no more. I feel horrible. I'm not doing that ever again. And I didn't. So I don't think I even tried the reduced.
I've been on it enough. I don't think I need to go on it anymore. Yeah, I don't even know if I need to do the reduced version. I've been only on the hardcore version, but I remember the first time I went on it, where I was like, okay, I'm hanging in there. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you reach the destination, I was like, oh my God, do we have to go back? Like, can we live
Mm-hmm.
here forever? That's
Mm-hmm.
all. And thank God.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought. That's the whole time going, "Oh my god, please don't have us go back. I can't. I'm gonna die." Anyway.
The big one I think we have to get to before we wrap things up here is, oh, well, I guess quickly, Maelstrom and Frozen, which was covered on this Epcot Behind the Attraction. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to, I mean, and talked about of like how much people love this ride, which I thought it was nice for Disney not to ignore that, because there were a lot of people who were nostalgic for that ride. I think the attraction, the IP stuff is so good that they don't need to that it is what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those things that Maelstrom spoke to our nostalgia, and it was, the one ride besides Mexico, the one of two rides
Hmm.
in World Showcase,
Yeah,
and we loved that about it.
yeah,
So it was hard to then go to Frozen, but they didn't change anything. They just brought in Frozen, and I love Frozen, so
yeah,
like it works.
yeah.
So I'm not that mad at it.
It totally works. On that Behind the Attraction, I will add that they were like, "Well, we had this idea before the movie came out," and I don't believe you.
Yep. Get out of
Will
here.
Will Ferrell gif. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
No, no,
Get out
come
of
on.
here.
No, no way. No way that you were hoping, waiting. No,
Yeah.
come on. You didn't even have meet and greets ready to go. Come on,
Get out of here.
get out of here. Um, so the one that we talk about most often, especially as it relates to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, is the Great Movie Ride and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And pretty much this is where the podcast started. This is where we first did a pilot episode of the closing weekend of Great Movie Ride in 2017. Jen and I chatted through the attraction and our memories of it. So this was always going to be difficult, and we've both been on the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Since then, we enjoy the attraction. I believe maybe
Mhm.
I'm speaking for Jen here,
Yeah.
but again, just like If You Had Wings, 1000%. Most of my joy comes in reliving some of the pathways of the Great Movie Ride,
Mhm.
trying to figure out how I go from Oz first and then back. Like, I don't understand the pathway of the building there in the second half anymore. But do we wish the Great Movie Ride still existed? Of
Yes.
course. But this is the ride then we can most equate to the modern day thinking of attractions that were beloved and replaced with something else entirely
Mhm.
different IP, and what do we and how to cope with our feelings, because
Are
at
we
the end of the
coping?
day
Have
it's an
we coped
enjoyable
yet?
ride. What's that?
Have we coped yet? I don't know. We were.
We've coped. It's been 3 years. It's been 4 years, 3 years since I've been on the attraction. For the
On
first
what?
time. For the first time.
Oh.
It was open in 2020.
What?
You remember 2020?
No.
So then I went. And then I went on in 2021 for the first time.
Right.
And then I've been on. We went in September, right? We went on in the meetup the first. So even then, enjoyable. We all conged with Daisy.
Yes. And the fact that all of you can figure out where we are, and it's very impressive to me because I have no clue where I am when I'm going through that ride. I feel it's the movie Big GIF. I don't get it. I have no idea where I am when going through that ride. Obviously, though, this was a tough one for us, and it's a love-hate because I like the ride that's there. There's just no reason to get rid of the great movie, right? Could you have updated it? Yeah, but not too much. But yes, you could have updated it a bit. Did I get mad when you changed the finale a little bit? I sure did. I sure did. So you can't update it too much. But regardless, that is one that will probably always sting to the Dillos.
I don't remember if I said this on the podcast, but I showed the 8-year-old the Great Movie Ride. Right through it. And it was with the Turner Classic Movie narration. And I was like, God, I blocked this out of my brain because it's definitely like the last time I went on was that. And I was like, oh, I don't accept this at all. And I was like, oh, 8-year-old. It was so much better without, like you don't need to listen to
Hold
this.
on, let me Google the real one for you. Hold on.
1989. Preferably, please. Don't we have good ride-throughs?
Why are none of these videos that clear? I don't understand.
Oh my God. I don't know. I think people know the story, but when we first did that first podcast episode, we were like, oh, we have video of the whole attraction from beginning to end. And I went through a bunch of video and I was like, I don't really have great footage. How do I not have great footage when I've recorded this?
It was
74
just dark.
times.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So long story short is, do I think, even though we understand why these changes have come and we are welcoming Tiana with open arms, are we going to go on the attraction and not have a little bit of those Splash Mountain vibes?
Sure.
I mean, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But am I worried about the storytelling? I am not.
No, I'm worried about the smell.
I mean, Jen is most worried about the smell.
Yep.
I don't have any worries really.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it this summer or at some point. I think summer goes all the way to September 21st or something like that. So sometime in that range.
Yeah.
We are looking forward to getting on the attraction.
Yeah.
And that will wrap things up here on this Theme Park Thursday podcast for Thursday, June the 7th, 6th. It's June 6th, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
June
the 6th. The 9-year-old will now be referred to as the 10-year-old.
Oh God.
Going forward. And we hope here in the month of June, we'll be leading up towards the cruise in August, but also not only trip report of Universal at some point, but I would love to try to do a full trip report with the 8-year-olds just to see.
Oh yeah.
What little golden classic nuggets I can get out of the 8-year-old. So those are the things to work on here this month. And of course, at the resort, DillosDizResort.com, the next round of Dillo's Madness will be imminent. So don't forget to join for free.
Also imminent. So many things are imminent.
So there's so much imminence at DillosDizResort.com. Thanks for hanging out. We'll do it all again next week. Until that time, she's Jen and I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
This is the Dillo's Diz podcast is hosted by Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. Music produced by Matt Harvey. Logos and video production courtesy of Snidillo Studios. Dillo's Diz Resort is our Patreon with tiers starting as low as $1 per month. You can visit DillosDizResort.com to learn more. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X Twitter, and Facebook at Dillo's Diz. Check us out on YouTube by visiting youtube.com/DillosDiz. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. We also have merch available on TeePublic and Etsy. For all this and more, visit our one-stop shop, DillosDiz.com. Dillo's Diz Podcast 2024.